2026 regular city council meeting, and the meeting is officially called to order, and I'd ask the clerk to call the roll.
Everyone's present.
Okay, thank you very much. Council, welcome, and citizens in the audience, as well as citizens who are watching online either today or sometime in the future. I don't believe Bradley Buck is here. Are you here? Okay, and I don't think anybody else is ready to give the invocation, so we're going to go past that, and we are going to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. So I've got a few people who are ready to speak, and several of them are dealing with the pool. If you don't mind, if you want to go now, you can, but I'm happy to leave you to that time on the agenda when the pool is being discussed, at least the pool resolution for the ballot. But I've got at least one member who wants to deal with an issue, not that. And I don't know, Will, I saw you filling out a form. Are you going to speak or you're not?
I just have it here ready in case.
Okay, very good. Okay, so the only one I've got right at the moment is Rick Retzloff. Welcome, Rick.
How are you?
Good.
I was coming here tonight. I didn't know that you guys had Larry Allen on here wanting to appoint him as a judge. But I've been in here many times talking about the illegal things he's doing in that courtroom along with the DA there. And I've expressed issues. And I'm tired of the bullshit. I'm going to tell you right now. There's 5 of you I'm going to start a recall on tonight. And you guys think everything's a joke. I had a 2-hour meeting with 2 of you and pointed out things that were being done, and then you guys want to appoint this crooked guy. And then I have another problem with the city attorney. I put in to have one call me, and I was told that they don't even have to call citizens, which I think is ridiculous since they're using our tax dollars and we're paying them. And they can't return a call, but they're responsible for our DA that works in the city that drives from Denver that I've been getting signatures on. A lot of people don't want her here because she is a tyrant, just like Larry Allen. And I can back all this up. I have 3 cases right now of illegal things they've done to people, and it's not okay. Their job is to uphold the law, and they're breaking the law. They're in there prosecuting people that have broke the law, but they're doing the same thing. And I'm not going to tolerate it anymore. And you guys don't want to listen. It's time to deal with you guys. You sit up there and you don't do a damn thing to people. You don't listen to nobody. And you're paid by us. You work for us. And I call Tim to talk to me. And he says, oh, Ryan tells me I can't talk to you. You're going through court, which my court is dropped. It was all dismissed. But as I understand it, Ryan's not his boss. Am I correct? Aren't you guys above Ryan?
The council is. Go ahead.
So why is he taking orders from him? But 2 other city council members met with me. You guys are so dysfunctional up here, you don't even fucking know what you're doing. And I'm not going to tolerate it anymore. You're getting recalls. And I tell you what, if you guys put Larry Allen in here, I've got signatures on the DA and Larry Allen. He's been there too long. He's sick, for one, with cancer. We need a judge that's honest, and we need a DA that lives here in our county and keep our money in our county, not a tyrant that's driving from Denver that we pay to drive back and forth. And I want a phone call from you. My tax dollars pay you. I want a phone call. You understand me?
I don't represent you, sir.
Well, then why are you even here? If you don't work for the public, why are you even here?
Okay.
Why do we need you?
Rick, you got to address me as the mayor as opposed to the attorney, so.
Why do we even have him here if his job is that DA? He's the only one that can fire that DA, but he refuses to talk to us about it? That's his job. Is he elected?
The answer is no. We
Well,
are.
he needs to go, and we need someone that's going to talk to the public. How are we supposed to get anything done as citizens if they don't return calls and refuse to talk to us? But it's his job that DA is here. He's the only one that can get rid of her.
Okay,
What, it's so dysfunctional. You guys are protected. You're all protected by each other. And the citizens get fucked over. I'm tired of it. A lot of people are tired of it.
okay, I need to bring this to a close at this
Yeah,
point,
well,
Rick.
you're getting recalls. You guys
Okay.
be ready for it.
Thank you. There is on the mayor a certain level of decorum that I need to uphold, and so that is an issue that is my responsibility per the city charter, not just a ordinance. And so that's something I'm going to take seriously and continue to do. Is there anybody else that wants to speak besides Rick, who just spoke on an issue? Okay, seeing none, we're going to go into the next item on the agenda, which is number 6, which is council members and any comments you have. So committees, I know you've got something, but that's later on the agenda. As far as committee, do you have other things that you want to deal with? And then Fred, and then I'll speak, and then any other council members. So go ahead, Councilmember Smisher.
Thanks so much, Mayor Lund. The next Public Safety Quality of Life Committee meeting is September 2nd from 4 to 5 p.m. We'll have as one of our agenda items the readout from the conversation that council has tonight about the draft Macon Plaza play structure, which is item 10A on this evening's agenda. And then we have 2 other newer agenda topics that we'll be talking about. One is Western Gateway and kind of the activation of the Centennial Park building. Is that feasible to do now? It would help, as I understand it, from a grant perspective, to show community use of that space and kind of how much energy and enthusiasm that there is behind that already. And then the other one is e-bikes, e-motos, draft city ordinance around that, as well as a stronger public education campaign around it. We actually are fortunate enough to have a high school junior who's taking this on as her capstone project. And we've had a couple of initial meetings with the Canyon City Police Department, Canyon City Parks Department, and the Recreation District about what makes sense from a land management perspective. What does the Canyon City Police Department need in an ordinance? This idea actually came from them in order to be able to tackle this issue. And then also conversations with the city public information officer to get the education campaign out there more. So on September 2nd at our 4 to 5 p.m. meeting, we'll be looking at, well, what we would like to do is look at a very initial draft ordinance that would obviously need to come to council for 2 public readings as well. That's it for me.
Okay, thank you very much. Councilmember Tony.
Thank you, Mayor. We had our Budget, Finance, and Public Works Review Committee, and we'll have our next one September 10th, 3:45 right here. There's a couple things that came up in that, and I'd like Leo, if you wouldn't mind stepping up. One thing we talked about was the RFP, the policy, that 5% policy for local contractors. Can you explain that real quick, what we discussed there?
Yeah, so our adopted purchasing policy has a local preference of 5% or $10,000, and I think it's whichever of those is greater. And that would be for any Fremont County-based business on bids that we take.
Yeah.
And I think the discussion was just, we've got some larger projects and consideration of if that amount should be adjusted on specific projects in the future.
Right, and we needed to bring that to the council at a later date, right?
Yes.
Also, we talked about the some new technology. We'll be trying that, and hopefully new technology will take the place of additional head count. We're short on head count to oversee some of these projects, so they'll be trying some new technologies on that. through some technology trials. Then also there was a policy change on the design-build model. That's what we were talking about there?
Yep, we discussed utilizing design-build contracting potentially on future 2A projects and programming. So that'll be coming back for a discussion at a future Finance, Budget, and Public Works Committee meeting, I would say.
Right. Okay, and really, that's it. Leo Evans, our Director of Public Works, did a great job putting together a summary of the 2017 to 2025 completed and 2026 construction programs. It's on the website. If you go under the agenda, government website, agenda, and then look at the Budget Finance Committee, it'll be under that. But it's a great review of what's been done on the roads and the infrastructure. That's all I
Okay,
got.
thank you. Councilmember Maloney.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to give kudos to Rick Harmon for putting on the Economic and Development Summit last week. It was super refreshing to see all of the a lot of the stakeholders in our community with such, interest in what we can do to improve, and it was very positive. It was refreshing from a lot of the stuff we've been hearing. So I just want to say thank you to Rick for putting that on. I know Sarah was there I wasn't there for all of it, but most of it. Ryan, you can probably elaborate a little bit on all that took place, but I think it's important to know that it was a very well attended and very meaningful event.
Councilmember McCullough.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is just a quick reminder that the Fremont County Office of Emergency Management is still looking for more participants in their Fremont County Wildfire Survey. I believe that the city has posted it to our Facebook page, but be on the lookout for that and make sure to fill it out if you have not yet, because that data can really help make us all more safe. So thank you so much.
Okay, Councilmember Schmischer, back at you.
Thank you. I just wanted to clarify from a staff perspective, is the decision on design build is the decision on letting construction contracts out as design build contracts versus a design contract and then a build contract? Is that decision going to be made by staff? Is that something that you envision being on a future council agenda?
Yeah, I think we want to talk about it again in the committee and get a recommendation from the committee on how to proceed. And if that's referring it up to council for an entire discussion of council, we're looking for inputs on what council would like to see.
I think just given the reason why it was changed in the first place, like given the reason why we walked away from design build contracts for 2A 10 years ago, I think it would probably be helpful to have it be all of council weighing in and having input rather than just the council members who happen to be on that committee. That committee could certainly make a recommendation up to council, but I think we tended to stay away from the committees making decisions. Oh, Corey, sorry.
For what it's worth, if ultimately council wants to consider whether or not to do a design build, I think that should be codified anyway. So it would ultimately, if that is something council wants to consider, I would recommend it be considered via code amendment.
Very good.
Okay, so actually amend our code to allow design build?
Yes.
Okay, even though we've done it in the past under our
Yes.
current code? Okay.
Yeah, the law has changed pretty dramatically in terms of how you consider design build, design bid build, the more traditional. And so giving the city the specific authorization to do a design build is, I think, important.
Okay, thank you, that's really helpful.
Councilmember Worthington.
Thank you. I just wanted this is more of an information piece. In Dawson Ranch, we have a very involved citizen who has set up, he's a former fire jumper and other things that way. He's retired from the BLM, but he set up a FireWise, which is a national program, and he has initiated a lot of things within the subdivision. And we actually got a comment from one of our fairly new homeowners up there that when they went to obtain home insurance, they got about a $300 to $500 discount because Dawson Ranch has initiated this FireWise program. And since we're a pretty big opportunity with fires anymore, I just thought I'd pass that on to other people in case other divisions or subdivisions or something would be interested in trying to initiate that, we can get out information to them.
Thank you very much. Any other council members? Okay, I have a couple issues myself I would like to bring to our attention. So, shout out to the Music and Blossom Committee. They did a fantastic job over the weekend with the carnival. And if you guys are watching or anyone else, they had a huge crowd. I went by there each night and during the day as well. And bringing that in was something that was really significant for our community. And again, a big shout out to them and congratulations for such a successful event. I get, like other council members, the mayor gets texts and things about different issues. There are concerns about on electric motorcycles going driven by young people, and we as a council, I think, need to put that on a future agenda to deal with. I have witnessed it myself doing wheelies down Main Street, and they probably need to be licensed. And the city administrator and I discussed it at our weekly meeting briefly, but I want to bring it before the council's attention that I think the community is concerned about this. That's the carrot side of the fence as far as what we might do. There's also the stick side. The carrot side is that they probably need some place to do this at that is legal. And I had good times when I was a kid running motorcycles and everything else, and so that is something that I think if we can find some way as a community to find a place that works for them, I think that would be good. My understanding with the Skyline Trails is that the citizens were concerned about noise in the past, and so there might have been a change on that, and I understand there's citizens walking there, but at least is there a place that we can allow this activity to be a lot more safer than it is than running on our streets. So again, let's get it on a future agenda if we could. This morning, I and two members of the board for the Loaves and Fishes, specifically the treasurer and the president, and Will Colin, who's sitting here today, we went on a tour of homeless camps throughout Canyon City as far as where they're at. I talked with a couple homeless that were out there as well. And I'm getting all kinds of information from citizens about the challenges that they are facing. Let me frame this just a little bit. I recognize that homelessness has went down in Canyon City. Dee Dee today, who's the executive director for Loaves and Fishes, indicated that they think the number is around 68 to 70, somewhere in there. They also have beds available at Loaves and Fishes as opposed to not. And so what we are dealing with, in my view, and having discussion with folks on the Loaves and Fishes board as well as Dee Dee herself, is we're dealing with people who don't want to go to Loaves and Fishes and get services there. They are interested in not doing that, whether it's mental health issues or it's a drug issue or not. And so instead of going to Loaves and Fishes and getting a bed, our community is the bed for them. And they are causing a lot of grief with our citizens, with businesses and landowners, and had one lady that contacted me. She was stalked at one of the gas stations locally this past week. Another person who was a pastor was physically threatened about his life. We've had all kinds of trespasses, and the point is we might look at this and say it's under control. We've only got 68 compared to what we had in the past, but the ones we are dealing with are really significant. I wouldn't call focused on homelessness. I would call focus on lawlessness, that they are willing to continue to break laws on a constant basis, and they are creating problems for our citizens. They're creating problems on the trails, and we do have a policy coming up specifically to say, okay, panhandling, we're not going to give to the panhandlers, we're going to give to different agencies, including Loaves and Fishes. The gentleman I talked to, and I don't think he'll have any problem with me saying his name was JR. He's out on the railroad tracks and over by Colin Orchards, and I chatted with him, and he indicated that, I won't use the language that the recent speaker did, but he indicated that if the city does that, we're going to have a real problem because they are going to get their funds one way or another, and so we're looking at more thefts, those kind of things. And that was the threat that he made with me. It wasn't aggressive or anything else. It was simply we were having a conversation. And I'm actually I committed to meeting with him on Thursday. What I would like us to do as the council and the mayor is to ask the attorneys to come up with every ordinance that is possible throughout the United States that is constitutional that we can deal with this issue. And a lot of communities are dealing with this with different things that they have put into place. And I would like us to have a full and comprehensive list of what works, what has been satisfied that is legal, and we consider a package ordinances that we can adopt that takes on this issue. We cannot let it continue like it is. It is unacceptable for citizens that are dealing with this on a daily basis. And again, there are people that are dealing with this on a daily basis. So again, our numbers are better, but the ones that we're dealing with are in a difficult situation, and they're making it difficult on us as a community, and it's hurting businesses, it's hurting citizens, it's hurting people who want to use the trails, and I think we've got to get more aggressive on it. That includes law enforcement as far as how they would deal with it. And my understanding is we're giving lots of warnings that are taking place. I'm not certain that it's coordinated. Could be coordinated, that one officer is telling another officer that I just gave that guy a warning. And so maybe if they're not completely coordinating, they're getting too many warnings. And one member, and I don't know if he wants to address it, but he called the police 6 times in the last 13 days on the same individual for a trespass. And this is reoccurring over and over again. And it's something that, again, I believe we as a council, we've got to focus on this issue and address it better than what we have. And again, I would ask that we have if you agree, the attorneys prepare a list of all ordinances that are possible for this council to make that would deter not homelessness, but deter lawlessness. And so it's not after anyone's status, it's not after a particular class, it is after behavior that is lawless and is causing grief in our community. So that's all I've got to say about it. I appreciate the tour this morning. It was a little more than 2 hours long. We went to a number of locations, and there are things that are being trashed that shouldn't be trashed, including people's including our water streams. Our water streams, one member of our community had the water tested at 4 Mile, and it is full of feces. And so their kids can't play in there. And that's just the reality. And so it's something we have to deal with. Do I like saying that about Canyon City and somebody watches this? No, but every other community is dealing with it, and we need to deal with it as Canyon City as well. So that's my piece on that. Would the council be in agreement with asking the attorneys to give us a memo that indicates all the ordinances that are possible out there that we could take a look at? Councilmember McCuller?
I just have a question about what you mean by all the possible ordinances. That seems like a huge amount. Is there a way that we can narrow down what you're looking for?
Yeah, sure. If I haven't been specific, I'm happy to be specific.
Attorney Hoffman he looks ready to answer.
Yeah,
So.
I think I can probably answer because we've been dealing with this issue in communities throughout the state. There are issues about how you clean your parks, and which deals with how you deal with camping. For example, putting notices that are regular as opposed to giving notice. There is law that says you have to give a certain amount of notice to clean encampments. Some communities have become more aggressive and just done regular cleanings, put up notice that there's going to be regular cleaning, which eliminates the requirement for individualized notice. You already have an ordinance that prohibits not using the right-of-way for its intended purpose. In other words, if you're lying down, sitting down, not using the right-of-way for its right purpose. There are additional ordinances about how you utilize the medians. So there's a sort of a number of ordinances you can do that we're happy to provide, because there's a script, for better or for worse, and a number that have been found constitutional. So it's not, you cannot prohibit panhandling. That violates the First Amendment, but there's a lot of other tools that can address the conduct. The one thing I will point out in terms of community education is that a lot of the enforcement activity needs to include education of private businesses and what they can and can't do. For example, if I'm a Subway store, I can require someone to buy a sandwich before they use my restroom. And a lot of business owners don't realize that they can do that. And so it is a partnership between the police department and private businesses in the city to really enforce at all levels while still providing services to those that want them. I think part of what the mayor is saying and part of what my experience has been is that it's those folks that aren't interested in getting the services that are typically the ones that are violating the law. The ones that are accessing the services typically are not the ones that are a problem in the community.
That is correct, and that's exactly the discussion. So I want to be very clear. I'm 100% for Loaves and Fishes. I think everyone that was there today, they are doing good work and appreciate what they're doing. But there is a group of people that are choosing to be lawless, and they're frustrated with us as citizens as much as we are with them. And so that is a battle that is a challenge, and we've got to deal with it. And again, the frustration level is really high. Just a couple more incidents that happened this week, and Will, I see you making your way. I was at a bank, and ATM was there, and we had a couple of homeless that were right in front of the ATM. The manager came out and asked that they would move from that, and she got lashing of the tongue with effing you and effing this, and it wasn't something that she should have to put up with just clearing the way so citizens could use the ATM. I've got 3 council members that want to speak, but if you don't mind, I'm going to put Will on first, and then I'll work my way through the council members as well. So Will Colin.
Thank you for allowing me to speak. I appreciate it. I agree with everything that Phil just said, and I'd just like to emphasize one thing that, Corey, you had mentioned lots of great ideas about things the city can do. I would love to see the city and the county kind of coordinate a little bit, and also don't forget about not just businesses, but private property. I'm at my wit's end as what I can do. I know I can call the police, I can call the sheriff. I have property both inside and outside the city limits. But it's just come to my, it's come to me recently that maybe I don't have as many rights as I think I do. And I was in a situation, I'm the one that has had more contact with law enforcement this week or in the last 2 weeks than I care to. I'm averaging 1 every 2 days, if not more. Based on the amount of traffic that I have through my property. I was told by, and I believe it was a city officer, that I'm borderline harassing them. If they're on my property, they're camping, they're trespassing, I believe that I can do, and I've found an ordinance that says that I can use as much force as needed, up to a point, of course, to keep people off my property. Currently, I can put up all the no trespassing signs I want. That's a waste of time and money. I can repair all the fences I want to. That's a waste of time and money because I'm getting overrun. And again, it's not everybody, it's a few bad apples. But I would love to hear any ideas and have those communicated to me as far as what private property owners can do to combat this, because I personally can't call the police every time I run across a camp because I have other things that I need to be doing. I literally invest, today I invested 2 hours, but I literally invest an hour a day in patrolling and keeping people off my property. That's too much. If I don't, Colin Orchards has employees who don't want to do their job because they fear. We have needles floating in the ditches. We have, I used to have, and I still do have, they're Colin Orchards, I should say, has a group of great employees. We used to have a couple of young women who did irrigation for us. They don't like to irrigate and go out there because of who they run into, and I don't blame them. So these are some of the problems that we're having, and I would like to have answers as far as what private property owners can do and to help keep people off of our property. Thank you.
Thank you, Will. I've got one other speaker that wants to address it, and then, I'm sorry? Sure. Will, are you willing to answer a question from council member?
Thanks. I'm just
Absolutely.
trying to get as much contextual information as I can so that I can better understand the challenges that you're facing. And I'm extremely saddened that you are facing those challenges and that you are continuing to face them. With regard to I'm assuming then the calling the cops 6 times in the last 13 days for a trespass on a single individual.
That's correct.
Could you break that down for us just a little bit more? What happens? Like, is that, the individual gets 6 warnings, or is that they get a trespass warrant? Like, could you just give us a little bit more?
Sure. So it's incredibly interesting to me. I stood here, I don't know, 4 years ago. Some of you may remember about the same issue, the same problems. And the city and the county got together and basically came up with an idea that they wanted people to call, they would be trespassed. And on agricultural land, that is a misdemeanor, I believe, which is not a big deal, but it does force that individual to go to court. If they don't go to court and they get picked up, they have a warrant, and therefore there's a process that happens. Recently, in the last few weeks, I've asked these people to be trespassed, and in my mind, trespass means you get a ticket, you got to go to court. Apparently, that doesn't necessarily mean the same to law enforcement or all law enforcement right now, because they get hey, don't come back here, get out of here. And then, as Mayor Lund said, sometimes that officer doesn't talk to that night shift, doesn't talk to the day shift, or doesn't talk to that officer. The same individual shows up. I call the police. I think they're getting a ticket or whatever, but they're just getting run off again. Quite honestly, I can do that. I can run people off my property. I'm hoping to get a ticket out of it, or not for me, but for them, and to get pushed off so they don't come back. This week, I've had the same individual come back to his same camp, my property, to the same exact place that he likes to sleep, and I can catch him almost every day. And I can call the police, and I'm right on the border between the county and the city, so I never know what I'm going to get. And I hope that now the city and the county will talk again. Seems to be a little bit of a gap there, and I can understand that it's two different law enforcement agencies, but there needs to be some communication there. I shouldn't have to call that many times to get one person removed. And this has happened before. The last time it happened, I was told I need to get a restraining order for the person. And when I go down to get the records to make the restraining order, I find out that this person hasn't been trespassed near as many times as I thought they had been trespassed. So I don't have necessarily a good solid ground to get the order filed. So that's frustrating. And again, here I am spending time, energy, fighting a battle that I can't seem to win. Hope that answers your question.
Yes, thank you. That's very helpful.
And if you don't mind speaking for your neighbors, can you tell me what their attitudes are for the situation?
Yeah, all my neighbors are upset about it. They have the same issues that we do. Odd times of night to find people out on your property, lots of trash, a never-ending supply of trash. Today when we were out, one of my neighbors came out and she was out picking up trash. That, if I remember right, Phil, she said every other day she comes out and picks up trash because it blows over from the homeless camp through her fence. You know, that's a big concern. Another big concern is the needles that we deal with. I have to have the Colin Orchards employees be careful when they're irrigating, when they're cleaning pipes, cleaning debris out. We have to be mindful of that. And we obviously don't want that anywhere close to our product. So we now have to alter where we plant certain things. We keep that stuff close to our facility so we don't have that issue. So we have to change the way we operate. One of the things I'm not sure, it's kind of off subject, but what was it, 5 years ago, I believe it was, We lost $30,000 worth of hay because of homeless, because they started a fire. It came out of their camp, caught one of our haystacks on fire. Not only did we lose that amount of hay, but then we had to clean it up because the fire department comes and sprays chemical on it and water, makes a big mess. I mean, they're putting out the fire, I understand. We had equipment there, burned the tires off the equipment. That's a loss for us. That hay's not insured. It's very difficult for a business to operate taking on loss like that. And it's not like we can go to that individual and sue them for the money that they owe us. It puts us in a very bad situation. And this is something that is increasing daily now. It's more and more and more. And there are a lot of my neighbors are elderly and they don't have the ability to go out and run people off their property like I do. I'm very blessed that I have the ability to go out and do that. They don't. Sometimes they call me, and that puts me in an odd situation. Now I'm on patrolling somebody else's property, taking the odds or taking the chance, the liability, but I can't go to that person and say, hey, get off my property, because it's really not my property. So this problem is just getting worse and worse and worse, and I really appreciate the fact that you guys are looking into it.
Thank you, Will.
Thank you.
As Karen Corey is making her way up, I would just want to indicate that Loaves and Fishes have, I think Dee Dee had indicated they've got 7 or 8 individuals that they have trespassed off from their property. And so when that tells you that the homeless shelter is trespassing other individuals from coming to their shelter, we've got a problem. And they are coming, again, now they're part of our community, and we are the ones dealing with it. So Karen, welcome.
Thank you, City Council. I am honored to be here. I'm honored to have met some of you. Will, I am so sorry. That is egregious. I am outraged. Here we are talking about spending money on the homeless, spending money to arrest them, to process them, while this young man is spending money to repair the damage that these drug addicts and homeless people are committing and doing on his property while they're trespassing. I have a really novel idea, and I am not joking. I know some people are going to be offended by me saying this, but I really don't care. Why aren't we shipping these people to Denver, who loves the homeless and the drug addicts? Why aren't we shipping them to Seattle or Portland, Oregon, who loves and supports these addicts? I know that sounds harsh, but they're costing us money. They're costing this young man his livelihood. And it's not right that we be putting resources into trespassing them, giving them citations, giving them tickets. They never show up in court. By the way, I have a brother who's a drug addict. I know all about it. It's personal to me. These people are not going to change what every single one of you has wanted to do in the past. Living proof is right here. It's not working. It's not going to work, Mayor. It's not going to work. Ship them to a place that loves having them there and supports them. It's not hard to do. You put them on a jail bus or whatever, a train, I don't care what it is. Get them out of our city so we're not spending resources on handling these people who are doing the things that they're doing to this young man. He doesn't deserve it, and we as a city do not deserve that. That's all I have to say. If you're offended by me saying that,
Not at all.
as I would say, suck it up, Buttercup.
Thank you for your comment. Again, I think we need to be committed to doing everything that we legally can to deal with lawlessness. Not a certain class, but lawlessness in our town. Fred Toney, Councilmember Toney.
Did Tim have something first?
Nope, he's after you.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Will. And you hit on a point. This didn't just happen in the last week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. I know it's been happening for 2 years at least. And so we've been dealing with this a while, especially on the east side of town. And it's just not on your property. It's, behind the Auto Nation. It's at the the bank that's over there, right next to the police stations, the church. You can see it at Walmart. My question would be, what good is a no trespass sign when you put them up and nothing happens? What can be done when you put a no trespass signs and things like this happen?
Again, I think we're going to ask the attorney to come up with a list of stuff. I don't know that he can answer tonight unless he wants to take a shot at it, but I think this is something we have to put in a package and do something. Corey, if you want to take it on, you're welcome
Well,
to.
no, you're right. We can't answer all of it, but there are a couple of things. It absolutely requires collaboration between the government and the community, and service providers. But I'll be the first to say the system's broken, because part of the concern is there's not criminal culpability for these type of minor offenses in any meaningful way. Because in my opinion, the folks at the legislature have frankly tied the hands of municipal courts and county and district courts to take enforcement action against the lower level crimes that are having significant impacts on the community. I mean, I'm incredibly sympathetic. We don't have the tools. Even when we ticket them, even when we arrest them, they are released on what are known as personal recognizance bonds. And that's a system we can't change. So there are still a lot of tools to make it less comfortable for those that decide not to access the services. But I also don't want to create a false indication that this will solve the problem, because we're in a system that is not working for this problem.
Understand, and I think, again, we might want to talk about zero tolerance with warnings for camping, those kind of things. I do want to give Ryan kudos. He and I had discussion about a camp that was over by the church on city property, and that was removed in the last 2 days. It took us a while to get there, but that camp was a complete mess, and the city staff went in and got that taken care of, and Ryan had his hand in making that happen.
Yeah, and some of that delay is, as Corey mentioned earlier, there's a certain amount of time that we have to post in order to give notice to clean those camps. So, if there are other tools, like Corey mentioned, where we can have standing orders, that may help as well.
Yeah, I'm all for the standing orders. Councilmember Dennehy.
Thank you. And, Will, I know that in the past, even going back to even just per se, when you had a problem with beavers, you have to go through the right channels and all that to do that. I remember that years ago, and you and I had talked about something like that, and your dad was involved in that. And it's not as easy as it was back then. But I think on our private property, again, I think it's so important that we tell the property owners and that. You look at City Market, you look at Walmart, you even look at sleeping out on the grass at Walmart. I was going out of town yesterday. I was going up to Pikes Peak Club, and I was driving by, and my son's like, "Oh gosh, Dad, look at all the." I know right where the mess was. Finian spotted it, and I agree. And it's tough on all of us, but I think we definitely have to, as far as our businesses, we've got to inform them that they have that right. And that's private property, that they have to call. But I do think that there needs, again, like Corey was saying, you arrest somebody, they go to court, they don't go to court. They go to court, they're still going to get out. Where are they going to go? I see what you're saying by, shipping them all out. I understand that. No, I understand that, and it's my money too. And I'm not saying coddle by no means at all. But on the other hand, they are American citizens, and they do have some rights. And it's and if another city said, if Colorado Springs said, "Oh man, we got way too many, we're shipping them to Canyon City," it would be a shipping thing all over the country if this started. It would be nonstop. Our roads would be full of homeless people.
You ship them to the cities that love them, Denver, Seattle, Portland.
But eventually they would
Okay, we
start
can't have this
shipping out.
conversation because
But
it doesn't show up on video, so for citizens to know what's going on.
anyways, I just want to say, I hope we can get this going. You know, Will, I am sorry, because I know you and I have talked about that years ago. I remember talking about it with your father. Yeah, I saw it the other day. I mean, I did see that mess as I was going out of town, and Finian's the one. And hopefully we can get it. You know, there's a few that are struggling, and there's a lot that are probably, I think the ones that are struggling try to get help, and the other ones are just maybe beyond, you know, maybe the drugs. Who knows what their problems are. Thank you.
Councilmember Schmischer.
Mine is actually on your first update, so I don't want to cut short the conversation on
I
your
think
second
we're going to conclude it
update.
and move on with the agenda. but
Okay.
This is an important topic.
Absolutely.
Go ahead.
So I just wanted to get a little bit of guidance from Attorney Hoffman with regard to the e-bikes, e-motos, and the ordinance. I believe it would be a penal ordinance, so it would require a referral from this body to the Public Safety Quality of Life Committee for then the Public Safety Quality of Life Committee to be able to refer it back to this body. Does that need to be a formal agenda item, or can that be a majority of this body would like to see that ordinance from the Public Safety Quality of Life Committee?
I think it can be a consensus.
Okay. So if maybe just to
Without
speed up-
objection, anybody have any concerns about going to the Public Safety Committee?
Okay, wonderful. Then I think we would hope to bring it back to this body at either the first or second meeting in September. Thanks.
Yeah, and again, there are cities who have addressed this issue, and I think there's a variance of those, so I don't know that there's one ordinance that is going to be put out there, but I would hope that you also look at, is there opportunities for them to find a place that they could actually do that activity and do it in a safe way, and we allow that expression to take place as opposed to completely shut it down, so.
Yes, there are a lot of ordinances across the state of Colorado that we've looked at with both the Canyon City Police Department as well as our Parks Department, identified a couple that have elements that we think make sense for our local context. So obviously we'll be crafting something that's specific to here and hear you on the need for all types of recreation and for folks to have a safe place to do what they enjoy and love doing. Unfortunately, though, a lot of part of it's public education as well, because a lot of the e-motorcycles that are out there are not actually legally allowed to be driven by kids under the age of 16. So part of it will just be
Correct.
also getting that information out to parents and to the schools so that they know what to look for and what is legal and what is not.
Okay,
Thanks.
Corey?
And one of the more recent tools to address that issue is actually putting into the ordinance a parental responsibility piece.
Exactly.
So, yeah, I've had some communications with the city. There are a couple of communities that have very recently updated their e-bike ordinances in a very effective way that includes the parental responsibility, also includes, the level 3, the fastest ones, having restrictions on where they can be used. So the tools are out there to be included.
Absolutely, and those are the, I think that the ordinances that you have flagged for CCPD may in fact be the ones that they are talking about, so thank you.
I appreciate the council taking time with this issue, dealing with the lawlessness, i.e. homelessness, with a certain group, and it wasn't on the agenda, and again, I appreciate you taking the time today. It's very important, and we've got to deal with it. So next on the list, Butch Batchelder coming up with employee recognition, and we do this on the second meeting of every month, and you are on, sir, so thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, council members, other distinguished participants at the dais. I appreciate your time this evening. We have two individuals that we're recognizing this evening, unfortunately, and I'm bummed. Neither one of them could participate in the event with us. First person is Jared Brady. Jared is celebrating 10 years of employment with the city. He was hired as an equipment operator, maintenance worker, utility on August 16th of 2016 in the Water Distribution Department. He was promoted to technician utility locate on October 2nd, 2021, a position he continues to successfully hold. The other person I'm sure you're all familiar with, because whenever you walk into City Hall, you see her bright, happy face behind the glass, and that is Deborah Wiley, sorry. Deborah is also celebrating 10 years with the city. She started on August 29th, 2016. She was hired as a cashier in the Water Administration Department, and she's in a position she continues to hold. So I hope when you see either one of those employees, if you have an opportunity, you thank them for the service to the city. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. No photo tonight. Next on the list is City Administrator dealing with the agenda and the consent agenda.
Thank you, Mayor Lund. Members of council, item 8A is to approve the minutes for the regular city council meeting on August 3rd, the special city council meeting on August 5th, and the August 10th water committee meeting. 8B authorizes the mayor to sign an intergovernmental agreement with Fremont County for the 2026 election. 8C authorizes the disposal, donation of bicycles at the police department. 8D awards bid 71-26, the 1,000 block South Alley reconstruction and new method parking lot to Arrowhead Excavating in an amount not to exceed $199,675.20 plus a 15% contingency. 8D awards bid 88-26 Point Alta Vista railing replacement to High Point Builders in an amount not to exceed $27,510 plus a 15% contingency. 8F awards bid 102-26 replacement of Kawasaki Mule to Fremont Motorsport in an amount not to exceed $13,995.97. 8G awards bid 108-26 Dell laptops to Dell Technologies under the state NASPO contract in an amount not to exceed $38,987.52. 8H is to receive and file the monthly budget summary for June. 8I is to receive and ratify cash disbursements, and 8G is to receive and file cash disbursements.
Okay, any additions or corrections to the minutes that were presented? And then any questions for the city administrator about any of those items? I'm seeing none, which is kind of exceptional. So I'll take a motion then to approve the consent agenda as presented and the minutes. Does anyone want to make that motion? Councilmember McClure.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move to approve the consent agenda as read and also approve the minutes as read.
Councilmember Maloney.
I'll second.
Any discussion on the motion? Let's go ahead and vote.
Unanimously passed.
Thank you, City Clerk. City Administrator, also on the agenda for the Administrator's report.
Yeah, thank you. You have the written report in your packets. I do point out that we have the Clock Tower Plaza issue kind of been going back and forth. It went to a joint session, and local architect Lester Lamone provided an alternative concept to that. Since that joint meeting, I received a call from an anonymous donor who's interested in donating between $250,000 and $300,000 to the project for the original concept. So I guess what I'd ask is, can we take that back to another joint session of those two committees to discuss the validity of that option?
Councilmember Tony.
Yeah, I think it deserves a review back to the committees, the joint committees on that.
Okay.
Can you give us some more feedback on the donation? Is it going to be put in a fund or?
I think the donor is looking for us to say, yes, we're interested, and we would work out the details from there.
I think, yeah, we're interested in $250,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Councilmember Schmischer.
Thank you. Yes, Councilmember Tony and I had been talking to our respective committee members to try to identify a time that would work for the majority of both. I believe you had also mentioned that the city would be reaching out to the individuals who bid on the original contract to see if those bids would still be considered valid.
Correct.
If that was council's wish. Has that happened yet?
Yeah, we've reached out to the two low bidders. There were low bidders depending on which options you selected. There were two different low bidders. So we've reached out to both to see if both will hold their price, and we're still waiting to hear back on that process.
Thank you. If you could maybe just keep Councilmember Tony and I up to date on that so that when we do get it scheduled, we have all the information going into that joint meeting. That'd be really helpful. Thank you.
And you are researching the Lester proposal as well, right, as far as what that would cost?
Yeah, we have bid costs based off of the bids that we received. We were able to extrapolate how much that might cost.
Okay. And with the Lester proposal, that's not code. That's the architect that does great work in town put together a proposal, and the council approved that last time to move that forward. So I think you're just getting costs for that, so you can compare the apples
Correct.
to the apples and see what we can do.
Just for clarity's sake, Lester very kindly did it pro bono, but it was based on a lot of community input and feedback at the last joint Public Safety, Quality of Life, Budget, Finance, Public Works. I know he would want me to clarify that it didn't come entirely out of his brain, although all of the work did, and we are
Okay.
very appreciative of it.
Yep, good. I still have on the request to speak Councilmember Tony and Councilmember Schmischer. I don't think that that's completely accurate right at the moment, because they've already spoken. Okay, Councilmember Maloney.
But on the clock tower thing, I'm all for revisiting the original plans, but let's realize we're going to go down that rabbit hole about the parking issue again.
Yep.
So we're going to keep churning this over and over. So I just want everyone to understand, if we're going to go back to the plan from several years ago, that this all might come around again. So, but I'm all open to all ideas.
Councilmember Schmischer, is it on this issue? Okay.
Would it make sense, from your perspective, Councilmember Maloney, to have a whole of council work session on it then, since it did actually go back to council from the joint committees? And by having it as a work session, then we could have the public engagement and kind of dialogue without it having to go back to a joint committee and then back to council?
Yes. I think we'll have to have all concepts, all costs, and all sources of paying for it, all in one nice, tidy, so it's not like, well, let's see this, let's see that. I think all the information at one time, and then we can have that meeting. I think that would work.
Yeah, it may make sense, just because I think it's only maybe 2 council members who aren't on one of those 2 committees anyway.
Right,
And then
right.
that way we're just all hearing all the same information at the same time.
Yes.
One of the things I've heard on that particular issue is get it done. So let's move that thing forward one way or the other, as opposed to drag out the discussion for a long time. Decisions would be appropriate, and getting people to make things happen. City Administrator, you have another item?
I think you have one more request to speak, sir.
I'm not,
Yeah.
okay, Councilmember Tony, it
I
just came up.
think we'd like the city clerk, Sydney Foster Owens, I think it'd be a great idea to do one of your doodles to see the first time we can meet on this. At your scheduling
The
system
doodle never
seems
picks
to
the
work
time
well.
I pick. It never picks the time I pick, Fred.
Midnight doesn't work.
City Administrator?
Yeah, going on to the next item, just update on the current water status. Travis, do you mind coming up, please? We put out a press release last week after we got the last round of test results. We're seeing those numbers decreasing. We still see it in the system. And then I'll let Travis go ahead and give a today update.
Thank you for coming, Travis.
Yep, so as Ryan said, we're seeing some really good reductions across the system, anywhere from 89% in the reservoir and to 72% in distribution system. As the water call went more junior last week, we felt more comfortable. We flushed Thursday and Friday out in the system, tried to get that fresher water out to people's residences. We had our second round of back tees last Monday. They came back non-detect for all total coliforms, so water continues to be very safe to drink. All of our chlorine residuals are nice and strong out in the distribution system, so I want to hammer that point home, that we're continuing to do our normal testing for all of our water quality parameters, and they're all coming back very, very good. I also wanted to notate out there that we do have a FAQ on the city website, canencity.gov. It's under the drinking water page. We put out kind of an FAQ to answer some of the most commonly asked questions. So that's on our city website, so people can go take a look, see at that.
You've done a good job with getting videos out and kind of a daily response going on from the city at this point too, which I think is critical, and appreciate you doing that.
Thank you.
Okay. Any questions for Travis?
And Travis, water call's currently at 1874,
1875.
75.
Yeah, went a little more junior. I think it was Sunday or
That's moving in the right direction, right?
moving in the right direction.
Right.
Yep. More rains in the forecast, so everybody cross your fingers, please.
Okay. Thank you, Travis.
Thank you.
We already dealt with the Macon Plaza. You touched on that?
Macon Plaza is a separate item.
Okay. That's under 10 in discussion. Okay, 10A and 10B are all together. Okay, so go ahead with the presentation, Councilmember Smisher.
Thank you so much. And could I ask Adam and Rex to come and sit up here in case there are questions from council? Thanks. I think Josh is pulling up a PowerPoint presentation from the Public Safety Quality of Life Committee. And I'll have to ask my fellow council members to forgive me. Lester was planning to deliver the majority of this presentation, but got called away to a competing engagement. So while Mr. Bradford is pulling that up, I just want to introduce and recognize a couple of folks. We have, I believe, 4 members of the Library Foundation in the audience. That's a separate 501c3 nonprofit organization. And then Adam, Rex, do you guys want to introduce yourselves briefly?
Adam Gonzalez, Deputy Director of the Canyon City Public Library. Rex Brady, Park Supervisor.
Thank you so much. So just a very short presentation. The Public Safety Quality of Life Committee wanted to ensure that we were regularly updating council on what has become our second priority after spinning off the Safe Cities Committee earlier this year. So this area that you can see, the mural is the back of the Public Health Building. This is a little snippet of land in Macon Plaza. That's our library director, Kendra McFall, and Rex Brady at one of our last conversations about this particular space. So essentially this began as an idea out of the Canyon City Public Library as really wanting to harness and leverage the fact that there are a lot of kids who come through Macon Plaza, both with the summertime reading program as well as the new, relatively new, 2 years old, Canyon City School District food truck stops in Macon Plaza. The library now does outside story time there and face painting, and really wanted to have a way to get kids and have families have more things to do in Macon Plaza to really extend those visits beyond just the quick stop in the library. It's also something that's supported by our Parks Department, obviously. I don't have a clicker. I'm sorry, Josh, do you mind? Rex has the clicker. Okay.
I'm hoping it's a clicker.
Boom.
Maybe. So this is born. Oh, Josh is going to do it. Wonderful. This was born and really follows the 2012 Macon Plaza Strategic Plan. You'll see in that document two of the key things that we wanted as a community, wanted to see were children's programs that build off the proximity to the library and arts center, as well as children's play structures. What we really intentionally tried to do was both further those aims as well as continue to support the other key components of the 2012 plan, which is leaving that big gathering space for public functions, for the concerts, for other recreational activities, for festivals, performances, if there were craft features that wanted to go back there. It leaves the strong pedestrian orientation. It really doesn't change the walkways at all. And then it leaves the opportunity still for it being that hub of neighborhood recreational activity, even more so perhaps if there were additional natural play features there. Lastly, it also, we would love to work with public art on this as well to ensure that, as we're thinking about it, if there are natural opportunities or funding sources for public art, that would obviously be very, very welcome. The one feature I would just point out, this says water features. This 2012 plan was put together prior to the Centennial Park redesign, and kind of the splash pad feature was lifted out of the 2012 Macon Plaza plan and put into Centennial Park. So I don't think that that is still on anyone's radar for Macon Plaza. But the idea here is really, kids are already jumping off of the things that are in Macon Plaza, so let's go ahead and actually give them something a little bit safer and better designed for that. You have families and kiddos coming because of the food truck. It stops there all summer long for free lunches for those under the age of 18, and it still leaves that big natural gathering area. Next slide. So the concept is one that was really put together by Public Safety Quality of Life committee member, citizen member Lester Lamone, in close conversation with our parks superintendent, the Library Foundation, and the rest of the Public Safety Quality of Life committee, really thinking about how do you put something there that isn't just a big plastic playground that you could see anywhere else? How do you have something that is natural and that really speaks to what Macon, the vibe that you get in Macon Plaza, and something that honestly we could do without needing any city capital expenses, that we could do based on grants, based on the wonderful work of the Library Foundation, and based on kind of the operating budgets that we already have. So just wanted to highlight the fact that this concept, while it was originally a vision of the library, really was born out of this collaboration through the Public Safety Quality of Life Committee and bringing in other local organizations. Next slide. So this is a very rough sketch of what it could look like. Again, it's just that one area. It's about 50 feet in length. What you'll see over to, in the middle on the right-hand side, there's kind of two what almost look like crescent moons. That's the one thing that would actually be purchased primarily through the Library Foundation, as well as a little bit of an unallocated grant that the library itself got from the Carnegie Foundation. It's the skeleton of a mammoth. And it is super fun. I'm wishing now that I had put in a picture of it, but essentially it looks like a woolly mammoth skeleton that is designed for kids ages 5 to 12 that they can climb on, play on, have a wonderful time. And it's kind of the feature of the park. What the rest, you'll see a number of log features and then lots of little circles. Those are all local things. So cottonwoods that have fallen by the river. I've heard that Rex is out looking for logs and convincing other folks to give them to us already, as well as local stones and natural play features. So it kind of looks like what you would want to find in Macon Plaza. It's not a big plastic red and green and yellow play structure. It's something that's much more creative and kind of enables kids to figure out how they want to use it. Let's see. We would have an accessible area and feature on the left-hand side. We'd work a little bit on the landscaping and bushes to ensure that from a security standpoint, we're alleviating some of the challenges that Macon Plaza has had back in those bushes over the years. And really the idea is that the more that you can activate the space, the more that you have people there, the less problematic activities you're likely to have there. Next slide, please. Actually, I'm sorry, could you go back one? Sorry. I also just wanted to highlight that we have also been reaching out really consistently to the neighboring property owners and inviting them to be part of these conversations. Just to the north of this is the post office building that's owned by Unbridled. Just to the just to the south of this is a parking lot that backs up to Pizza Madness. So Beth Kachmar in particular has been coming to a lot of the meetings and just providing a lot of good feedback and context for what they'd like to see. And then also across the street neighbors have also been in Valleywide, and Sally's have also been invited to the table. Okay, last slide. So just a really conceptual draft budget to let you guys know where the funding would be coming from. So the Library Foundation, again, separate 501c3 nonprofit, they've made a commitment of $20,000 for this year. The Canyon City Library received a $10,000 grant from the Carnegie Foundation for being a Carnegie library, and $5,000 of that is remaining that the library is planning to put towards purchasing that one composite feature, which is that Macon the Mammoth skeleton. And then the natural stones and logs, we're hoping that the Library Foundation, as that 501c3, will be doing some outreach to quarries and seeking donations that can be written off by local businesses. And I know our library and some of the neighbors are planning to do some of the outreach as well. And then the library does also have additional funds on hand to be able to do smaller amounts of the purchasing if necessary. There's some site prep that would need to be done that could be done by the Parks Department. But that's kind of the overview. We wanted to make sure that council was aware of what we had been working on, and if you guys had any questions or direction for us as a committee, that we heard it. Thanks.
Any questions, please hit your speaker button and I'll call on you. Seeing none. This is for information only. We don't need a motion on anything. Okay,
Yep.
very good. We'll go on to the next item. Thank you, Councilmember Smisher.
Thanks so much to Rex and Adam. Really appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
Yep, thanks, guys.
And Lester.
So the next item is 10B, which is the introduction and adoption by title only of Resolution 11, Series 2026, entitled a resolution authorizing assignment to the Colorado Housing and Finance Authority of a private activity bond allocation of the City of Canyon City pursuant to the Colorado Private Activity Bond Ceiling Allocation Act. And that is a lot of fancy words, and City Administrator, can you explain that to us, please?
Yeah, we're going to bring Rick Harmon up, our Economic Development Manager, to go through this. Private activity bonds are something that the city has been receiving in allocation for several years now. When we first started receiving them, we did a big presentation for City Council. A lot of City Council has turned over since then, so we're going to kind of go back to what private activity bonds are and present that to you. In the past, we have, and what we're recommending this year is to assign those to the Colorado Housing and Finance Authority, and we'll let Rick pick it up from there.
Thank you, Rick.
Thank you, Ryan, Council, Mayor. Since 2023, the city has been allocated a certain amount of money, or excuse me, a certain amount of bonding authority that can be used for projects that serve a public benefit. So it could be used for housing, creating a manufacturing structure, some infrastructure types of work. The federal government offers federally tax-exempt bonding authority to states. Each state is given a volume cap, and then they distribute those, or they allocate that bonding authority to municipalities based on population. In 2023, the state reduced the population to 17,000. That put us in the running for private activity bonding authority. The challenge, however, with bonding authority is that if you don't have enough to actually bond, because bonding is very expensive, smaller municipalities have a hard time doing anything with them. So the state offers the opportunity for us to assign our allocation to another organization, another municipality. In our case, we prefer to assign them to Colorado Housing and Finance Authority because they already serve our community through primarily mortgage assistance for our community, for our residents. Private activity bonds are a federally tax-exempt bond. So in other words, let's say we were authorized $20 million. So I think Denver might get $20 million. I'm not sure about that. We could assist a housing development or some other public benefit development with those bonds by issuing bonds, tax-exempt bonds, that the development then would pay down over time as a substitute for traditional financing for those developers. So if a developer were to, say, get financing for a project, $20 million of financing at 6% interest, they could potentially get $20 million of bond financing at 4% interest or something like that, simply because the buyers of the bonds get a tax exemption. So they get a benefit from that, from buying the bonds. Our authority right now is $1.182 million, which isn't nearly enough to actually issue bonds. So we request permission, authority to assign those to the Colorado Housing Finance Authority. And I also have Caroline Tranny and Denver Maw from Colorado Housing Finance Authority here to answer any questions you have. Denver also has a presentation if you're interested in that. Since we have a newer council that's new to it, we are happy to do that, and he can take care of that, or we can just do question and answer if you want.
I see a couple heads nodding. I don't know, Mr. Mayor?
I don't see anybody on the speaker list. I was simply going to ask, they've been on there since we started. I appreciate your patience as we work through a bunch of items to get to this, so thank you. Do you ladies, I can't, there's only one name up there, so Caroline, you're the only one I see. There's a C for whoever that other person is, and if you have any comments, we're happy to entertain those, and then the council, if you have any questions.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity. And yes, joining me, Caroline Tranny, Community Relationship Manager for the Southern Colorado region. Again, it's nice to see some of you. I saw a couple of you at the Economic Development Summit last week, so good to see you all this evening. Joining me this evening is also Denver Ma from our finance team at CHAFA, who oversees our programs, including our private activity bonds that could have with some additional information if you're interested on a quick private activity bonds 101 and some additional information that might be aligned with that, or happy to answer any questions that you might have as far as Rick's comments as far as assigning PAB to Jaffa, which has been done in the past. So I'll turn it over to Denver Ma from our team so that he can, again, answer or provide any additional information that might be helpful for you all.
Thanks, Caroline. I'm sure I am off mute, pardon me. Happy to answer any questions. Rick did an excellent job at explaining how that process works and really the economics behind it. That's really kind of the gist of it. I think really the economies of scale are really what you need on this. And so I'm happy to answer any questions or answer. I've got slides to probably address anything you might have. So please let me know.
Thank you so much, both of you. And is there any questions? I'm looking on my screen. So is there anyone that wants to ask a question from the council? Councilmember Tony.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. So these bonds, they have some very strict conditions, right? Can you hit a couple of those conditions that required to?
Denver, you want to comment on that one?
I'll just say these are private activity bonds. And so these are very unique in the fact that they receive tax exempt status, but the final owner is a private entity. And so because of that, that's a very limited amount. And so these are in contrast to, say, a governmental bond, which might build a library or build roads or something like that. These are private activity bonds where the private entity is the final owner, but it's for a public benefit. So that's where it comes down to. It's usually used for multifamily affordable housing and first-time homebuyer programs. And that's what Chaffee uses them for mainly as well.
And it can't be used for retail, hotels, more common commercial.
There is a economic development aspect of it, but it is mainly a manufacturing component, and so it needs to be manufacturing, and it needs really at least $10 million to really do much on that, but there is that small economic development component that is possible.
Okay, thank you. Any other council member? Councilmember Schmischer.
How often do we have requests where this might be part of a capital stack? And how, I mean, I hear you in saying that at one point, change isn't enough to bond, but if it's part of a stack, I'm assuming $1 million at 4% is still better than $1 million at 6%, even if it's part of a much larger development deal. Could you walk us through that a bit?
Absolutely. When you're looking at a capital stack, the development deal with multifamily, the one key with private activity bond cap is that, well, up until last year, you needed to finance 50%, and now last year, after the Big Beautiful Bill Act passed, it would move to 25%. That needs 25% of the project needs to be financed with private activity bond cap in order to receive the low-income housing tax credits from the federal government. So it's really the government's way of limiting the amount of tax credits that are issued. And so really, if you're not going to be able to finance 25% of a project, and to give you an idea, would probably $15 million and up is a size that really makes any sense with this sort of thing. So if you're not going to finance something that's size or have $5 million for that 25% or whatever, 15, I guess it's 3.375, then it's going to be, you really, there's no use for it except for that tax exemption. But really, the tax exemption is only part of it. It's really unlocking the low-income housing tax credit on the multifamily side. And then on the single-family mortgage side as well, it provides Chaffa really a tax-exempt platform to borrow on, and then basically lend at those tax-exempt rates, and so pass that savings on to the borrower. So we're normally about 1/2 to 1 point below market rate, and then we also include with that 4% down payment assistance at 0%.
Okay, thank you. Any other council members? Anyone want to make a motion? Councilmember Maloney.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to approve Resolution 11, Series of 2026, authorizing the mayor's signature on Resolution 10 and the assignment of allocation, and authorizing the attorney's signature on the certificate of the City of Canyon City concerning assignment of the private activity bond volume cap allocation for the assignment of private activity bonds in the Colorado Housing and Finance Authority.
Thank you. Councilmember Worthington.
I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion on this motion? Let's go ahead and vote.
There was one dissent, Mayor Pro Tem Schmischer. It passed.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Rick, and thank you folks for joining in and sitting through our council meeting to date. We're going to let you off the hook and you can proceed with your evening. And thank you, City Administrator, as well.
Thank you.
Okay, have a good evening. Okay, the next item. Won't frame this. You always wonder how much to frame any particular issue. It's been going on and on and on. And what I will say is today is August 17th, which was the planned date that we started in June 1st to deal with this pool issue. We went through a committee that was focused on the ballot issue. We had citizens make presentations about monies that were potential there for the $2.2 to $2.4 million, and we also have to deal with the 0.3%. And here we are now on August 17th, which was always the plan to make it before the ballot deadline, which I believe is September 4th, as opposed to September 1st. And so that's where we are tonight. What I'd like to do is go ahead and read the resolution as it's presented, and then we have a number of speakers who want to address that, and then we'll go to the council members who want to speak to this as well. Councilmember Tony, do you have an issue with how we're proceeding? No. Okay, very good. So I'll go ahead and read again what this is, and this is again going to the attorneys after the August 5th meeting that we had specifically with the Rec District Board and the City Council jointly, and then it was asked to go to the attorneys, and this is what they have. So an introduction by title only of Resolution 12, Series 2026, entitled A Resolution of the City of Canyon City, Colorado, calling for a special municipal election and referring a ballot issue to the registered electors of the City of Canyon City, requesting approval to retain previously collected sales and use tax and to continue collection of the temporary 3.3% sales and use tax previously approved by the voters at the November 5, 2024 election, with all the revenue to be pledged to the pay the debt to be issued, excuse me, I lost my thing here, I'll get it back. We're starting with November 5th, 2024 election, with all the revenue to be pledged to pay the debt to be issued by Canyon City Area Metropolitan Recreation and Park District for the construction of a community recreation pool and related capital improvements, and to finance the operations of such facilities to the extent the facilities are operated by the Canyon City Area Metropolitan Recreation and Park District. And City Administrator, do you have a report, or can I go ahead and have citizens speak, and then we'll go from there?
Yeah, just a short one. Yeah, I believe that the attorneys drafted something based off of what the two boards spoke about. Tried to make it as short as possible, but still tried to get the appropriate language and information in there to be clear on the intent. And then as far as it relates to the deadline, I think state statute says September 4th, but the county is closed on September 4th, so for our county, September 3rd is the deadline.
Okay,
And
very good.
we do have to have it translated into Spanish, and I think the lead time on that is about 2 weeks.
Okay, very good. And I'm sure we all have thoughts about that, and we're going to get our opportunity to do it. Before that, I'm going to have the citizens who wish to speak to this topic do so at this point. And Heather Darrow, you will be first up. She's not here? Okay. Heather, I'm sure you're probably watching. Good day to you. Dan Francis. Welcome, Dan.
Thank you, Mayor. Welcome, Council. A couple of things. So I saw tonight that there was a Macon Plaza project that had a draft budget and a draft maintenance schedule that was presented for a project. I haven't seen that for the pool. I haven't seen a draft budget, a draft maintenance, or anything for the pool project. I haven't seen an intergovernment agreement, a governmental agreement between the parks and the city and the council as we discussed. What I have seen is on the Monday, I believe it was, when I was here, Cooper, who's the president of the board of the parks, he made an analogy and said that I was using scare tactics when I was telling people that the pool was going to cost $40 million or more. And so he gave an analogy of a $65,000 truck that after expenses, insurance, gases, for 5 years was going to cost $150,000. And he said, well, no one's going to tell you that they're driving around in a $150,000 truck. They're still going to tell you it's a $65,000 truck. That scared me more than my scare tactics, I guess, because if that's how the parks does their maintenance and how they do their budgeting, and that's what they're going to present back to us, that's scary. It's very scary. And on top of being scary, you guys, without any budget or maintenance or without any intergovernment agreement, are deciding to turn over to the parks, who has $1.5 million budget, a $40 million project. Mind you, for the first 23 years, $40 million. Most of us probably won't be here for the next 27 years after the 23 are done. And people say, oh, there's no more taxes. There's not. This isn't a tax thing. This is part of the .03. The .03 is a tax. It's just not individually taxed for us. It's taxed to everybody, people who come here and visit and everybody who spend money. That's for the first 23 years when it sunsets. There's no mention of what happens the next 27 years. Are they going to tax my kids, my grandkids? How are you guys going to get the money to pay for the $50+ million pool? It's well over $50 million when you're done. And I'm going to go back to my original statement. I'm for a pool. I'm not for the location where this pool's at. It has no room for growth. If we have to go back to the citizens and put something back on the ballot, let's go back and make something that's right. It's a bad location. It's next to school. Has no way to support itself. And the parks, I mean, truthfully, there may be great people. They just aren't managing the funds right. Have you guys even checked into any of the funds and the operations that they're managing now? No, you haven't. And then I do know that I spoke to the main person at Eagle, what's it called? The Eagle Pool, which everybody brings up Eagle Pool. So I decided to contact the main lady in charge. And you know what she told me? 0 people from Cannon City or any of the projects have reached out to her. You know what I have in my email? I have their entire budget, what they spent, who developed it. I have everything that they sent. She sent me a plethora of information. And I can tell you, this project isn't going to cost no $200,000, $300,000 a year in maintenance. It's much more expensive than that. And so I encourage the board, you guys have to do something, to sit down, do an intergovernmental agreement, know what we're getting ourselves into, because I truly think that you're giving us a big, deep hole, and unfortunately it doesn't have water in it. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Dan. Hey, Josh, could you take that? We're watching ourselves on the video, and no fun. I'm not very photogenic, and I don't like watching myself, so thank you, sir. Okay, Michael Gromowski, did I get that right, sir? You did. Okay. Say that again? Yep, we'll be happy to do that. I take them in the order that they come up here. So, Mike Banker, go ahead, yours, sir.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mike Banker. I've never spoken in this chamber. I appreciate the opportunity. My intent is just to answer a few questions that Mayor Lund posted on a Facebook post Sunday. And if I could proceed, that's what I'll do. So, he had a lot of questions, which is, very reasonable. Freedom of speech is a wonderful thing. So I'm just going to start with, there are essentially 6 bullet point questions. Start with the first one. What the tax collects each year and in total through 2050. That question struck me as kind of odd because Mrs. Nordyke, who is the finance director, could have answered that question for you, Mayor. Just giving her a call would have done that. The answer that I came up with is a conservative approximation of the 0.3% sales tax collected by the city is $1.68 million per year regarding this sales tax.
Can you repeat that?
Yes. A conservative approximation of the 0.3% sales tax collected by the city is $1.68 million per year. We all know that sales tax is going to change year to year. So that is a variable that we don't have any control over. If you multiply that by 25, that equals to $42 million. So that answers your first question. Secondly, what is the cost to a typical household? In my mind, there are way too many variables to answer this question accurately by anyone. Third, what gets built? Specify the details, do not provide generalities. I'm going to also combine that with the question about cost to build and operate, as well as who pays if operating costs exceeds what the tax collects. There will be 2 bodies of water, including a recreational pool with 0 entry, as specified by the ADA. There will also be a 6-lane, 25-yard pool designed for swimming instruction competition, training of all types, and leisure swimming. A slide complex is also part of this plan. Restrooms, bathhouse, boiler room, and other buildings to support an outdoor pool, such as a chemical room, etc. At this stage of planning, there can be no details, and all estimates come from a pool complex. To build the actual design takes 6 months and is not cheap. If the ballot question failed, that would be a tremendous waste of money. However, experts in our community and beyond are confident that the pool concept previously presented to this city council will cost between $16 and $18 million to build upon construction costs, depending upon construction costs in the future. That is something that none of us have any control over. Specific details cannot be available at this time, as noted above. Best estimates have been provided by local and regional experts. The Recreation District is ultimately responsible for operations going forward. Next question, who owns the pool? That's the Park and Recreation District. They own the pool, and they are responsible for operations. What is the obligation? The bond must sunset December 31st, 2050, or if the bond is paid off before that period of time. What happens if citizens say no to the proposed ballot question? This is an easy one. If they say no, there is no pool anytime in the near future. It's back to the drawing board, step one. Finally, I also wanted to address a term that was used, and that is scrutiny or a blank check. I'm not exactly sure why you wrote that in the post, but I'm just going to add my commentary and I will be done. No one in this community, specifically the city and the recreation district, operates with a blank check. These professional entities operate using a budget, period. Regarding the pool, the recreation district would be dealt a specific amount of money as determined by the bond underwriters. The design team would work from the same budget to build a pool and then operate it based upon the allotted money. The check is never blank. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. I'm going to address those at a different time when we get to those questions and council members talking. So the next one is, do you want to go back up? Where did I put your thing? Michael Gromsky. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. First off, I'd like to thank the council, the city, particularly Ryan, and the rec district for making such quick progress on this pool. I think it's high time that the families of Canyon City can enjoy and can learn and have a pool to do it in. It's been almost 3 summers now without a pool. If we move quickly on this proposal, maybe we can get it done by next summer? No? Okay, not next summer, summer after. But that's still a lot better than nothing. My primary reason for coming tonight is to address this notion of $40 million that came in for a pool, and I have no idea where that number came from. I know it was Fred Tony's that initiated it, but I have no idea how he calculated that number. I've met with all the people in charge of the prospective pool, and the number that's consistently used is an $18 million cap. The biggest difference between this and prior proposals is that the rec department is going to manage the construction to that $18 million. That is, if features have to be given up, they will. The number is going to come out at around $18 million. Now, the longer we delay that, the more inflation, the cost of construction, the cost of concrete is going to eat into that 18 million, and we're going to get less features, and the inevitable might be that they have to come back and ask for taxes. That would be awful. As it is right now, if this body, both bodies, are able to move quickly, make that November 3rd election, have it pass, which I'm more than willing to help happen. If we can get this all done, then we can get a grip on inflation, move forward with the construction of the pool, and enjoy the seasonal aspects of a modest pool. Once again, thank you for your working on this. Thank you for your quick movement on it. And thank you to the Rec Department for taking ownership of it and moving forward.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your comments. We've got a run of mics. This is the 3rd one in a row. So Mike Sturicka. Vernon, you're up next, and you'll be the last comment.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Appreciate the opportunity to speak. Couple of things. I don't see the change in location in the ballot or in the resolution. to be rec district property and not school district property. At least that's not what was read by the mayor. But to go on to what I originally planned to say, I think the ballot language is clear. It's the 0.3% sales tax that was approved in November of 2024. It's not vague, it's set as money. The rec district has got that money. They're bonding in people. People that are going to do feasibility studies are going to come back with the exact numbers of what they can build and maintain and operate for that 0.3%. There's no vagueness to it. As far as the IGA goes, I think that's very simple. The city gives the money to the rec district to be deposited into an account, and I said this a year ago, to be put into an account designated only for the swimming pool. Construction, maintenance, operation. If there's an overage, it stays in that account. If there's a shortage, the rec district comes up with a way to come up with that money. That's the only thing they can do. But if there's extra, it's saved there for capital improvements, capital repairs of that swimming pool, or a future replacement of the pool when it lives out its life. I think it's pretty plain and simple. The other question I've heard, and why we don't have recreational marijuana in Canyon City. Our committee had looked at that. It's very minimal. I think the number was maybe 20,000 a year. It's very minimal what that could bring into the city. And if it is, it requires another vote. That tax has been set by a previous election, and it's designated for road improvements only, and it can't go to the swimming pool. So that's my final thoughts.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Vernon.
Good evening, Mayor, Council.
Good evening.
Thanks for having me again. So I'm going to start off on the quick one, the first one. Mayor, I've sent you an email. I'm still questioning why there's a flock camera still mounted, still there. There's video evidence that camera was still functioning in July, even though that contract expired 48 days prior to that video.
Yeah, so let me address that. I think you're talking about the camera that's up by Walmart, right?
Nope, it's the one that's by the Holiday Inn Express. Somebody cut down the other one by McKinsey, so.
Okay, so there is a camera by Walmart. I went and took a picture of it and found out it's basically a camera, correct me if I'm wrong, city administrator, but it's for that particular intersection, and I'm going to give you extra time as we respond to this. For that particular intersection, it's basically just doing a function of counting the cars and, the traffic patterns and those kind of things is what I understand. It was probably put up by DOT.
Yeah, not knowing which camera you're talking about, there are DOT cameras mounted on the signals.
Right.
And yeah, that's for traffic control and
Right.
monitoring.
So it's not a flock
Yep,
camera. And
correct.
where that location is, Vernon, is that in the county? Because I don't believe we've got any operational flock cameras within the city. Would that be correct?
The camera I'm talking about is right next to the Holiday Inn Express, pointing towards the Sheriff's Department, that intersection at Justice Center Road. It has nothing to do with Walmart. It can't see Walmart. It
Yep,
is.
I'm following you. But again, is that a county camera? Because we do not have, the contract expired June 30th. This council stopped it on June the 11th, if I remember right, and they were immediately stopped. And is that the position of the city, that we have no flock cameras that are operational, that are under the city's jurisdiction?
Yeah, there shouldn't be any that are operational. I can check on this location. I don't know.
I'll be happy to send you a video of that camera still functioning at 10:40 at night, taking pictures on, I believe it was July 17th. It may have been July 11th. But I have video footage of that thing still taking pictures in the middle of July.
Yeah, no, and that information would be helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, and we're not questioning you because they
Right.
need to come down.
Yeah.
And that is absolutely what is necessary. The one that was at Walmart, though, I did look at that, and it's definitely not a flock camera.
Yeah,
so.
I don't know about that one. Like
Okay.
the three that were in that little intersection have all been removed, so.
Okay.
I
I'll
was
give you
just
another
curious about
minute
those
on
ones.
your allotment here, so fire away.
So, okay, so onto the pool thing. A couple little things that just kind of pointed up. It's going to go to the ballot. We all know it's going to end up there, but it's weird. I've heard a phrase repeated here tonight that we've already heard before. If it doesn't pass the ballot, there is no pool. It was already said like that. Now we're saying the same phrase again. So Little bit of math I did. I don't want to beat anyone's head. We've beat this dead horse 100 times. You guys estimate that the taxes that have already been collected is between 2.1, 2.4. This gentleman stated that it estimated it should have been 1.6 million a year. Since that'd be 3.2. Well, we're already short $0.8 million of the tax. Mr. Stevens, I believe you said in the last meeting that the sales tax revenue went down this year from last year. The year before that, it was down even more than it was the year prior. So we have 2 consecutive years of the sales tax revenue dropping. We're at 2.4 million. He says 3.2 is what we're supposed to be at. You get an $18 million loan, 4.5%. Annual interest, you're looking at $810,000. $810,000, 24 years, that's $19,440,000 in interest. Add that $18 million, you have a $37,440 pool. Mr. Horn has requested $250,000 in subsidies for the next 24 years. That's another $6 million that the taxpayers are gonna, or grants, whatever, however he gets, that's another $6 million. So the tax collected, I based it off the approximation of a 2.4 over the last 2 years, $1.2 million per year. For the next 24 years, you're looking at $28.8 million. Then you add in the sales tax, or the sales tax plus the revenue the pool's gonna generate. That's gonna give you about $31.4 million. Add those two together, you got, or the 2 sales tax and the revenue is about $31,488,000, meaning that over a 24-year period, the pool is $5,952,000 short of just paying the bond issue. Something that Mr. Horn said in the last meeting is that this swimming pool collaboration item is modest. It says we're going to use 3 heat temperatures for different people, this and that. Well, what do three temperatures mean? It means you have 3 recirculation pumps. It means you have 3 heat pumps. You have 3 filtration systems. We have just tripled the cost of a swimming pool because we want to have 3 temperatures. I think that's a little excessive for modest. Between tax revenue to cover the bond costs, operation, not even operations, because we don't have that number. We just have an estimated number, what it's going to cost. This pool, tax revenue, revenue from the pool, this pool will pay the bond in full in 28.75 years. Who's going to be here? Our grandkids, maybe some of our children. But, and then another statement that this gentleman made that is concerning and should be extremely alarming. Taxpayers are funding this, right? That's the sales tax. Citizens are paying that. City, obviously, you're paying it because you buy stuff, et cetera, et cetera. But once the citizens pay for it, we hand over ownership to the rec district. Why doesn't the city become the owner of it? The citizens are the ones who paid for it, not the rec district. The rec district just merely maintained it and operated it with the citizens' money. But yet they become the owner. And as an owner, you then get to make all decisions in regards to the item that is yours. And I don't agree with that. And the last time Mr. Horn said that this ballot measure failed, that the pool was done, he's then donated all the stuff that was at the Ichabod pool to the Florence pool. Now we get to start over from scratch, and it's just another added expense, which, again, I don't know if that's in the design, replacing all the stuff that he donated away. And if he donated all that to the Florence swimming pool, did the city get the credit for the donation, or does the rec district get the donation credits for the taxes? So, again, thank you for taking your time and everyone else's. And again, if this goes to the ballot and it fails again, maybe instead of a modest pool, maybe we should look at a generic or maybe a basic. A pool is just a hole with water in it. It doesn't need to be elaborate. It doesn't need to be fancy. Just something where kids can go and swim. That's all I ask.
Thank you,
Thank
Vernon.
you.
Appreciate it. I'd like to address the issues that were brought up regarding my Facebook post just briefly, and then we'll go to the council members and we'll have a thorough discussion about this point as far as dealing with it. So what I was advocating on the Facebook post was not postponing this to any other time. I, from a personal standpoint, want to get this pool thing off the council's plate so we can focus on other things. And so I'm absolutely 100% in favor of getting it on the November 3rd ballot. What I believed after the August 5th meeting with the rec district as well as the city council, we appointed committee members on both sides to deal with the IGA, which is the intergovernmental agreement, which the old one is not valid anymore. We need to start out with a white sheet of paper to some degree and talk about what that relationship looks like. Because of scheduling issues, that was not available to happen since the August 5th meeting. The first time that they could meet was August 20th. And so what I advocated on there was that there are questions that are unanswered. Let's give the folks that are dealing with the IGA a chance to absolutely come up with the details and get it before us. And right now, we had talked about having that on the September 8th meeting. To have something on the September 8th meeting, you have to have it out on, because it's Labor Day and everything else, I would assume we're going to kick that out on that Wednesday prior, which is, I believe, September the 2nd. That allows for the framework to be at least put in place by the IGA committee, and we can have a special city council meeting on September 1st, September 2nd, and still meet the deadline on September 4th, and we will give the IGA group the chance to get some of these details out. I think those who want this to pass, as far as in November 3rd, I think you want to get as much detail out to the citizens as possible, because if you don't, I think citizens are going to react and say, you guys are not paying attention as your fiduciary responsibility to do that, and we have time. So when this schedule was originally put together, it was aggressive to get it to August 17th, so we would have, if it delayed, we would have another 2 weeks that we could have a special city council meeting and get that in. And so that is how it was planned from the beginning. And again, I am advocating, and I want to speak to it further, but I just want to address what the members talked about. We've got another 2 weeks. Let's do this right. Let's get the details. Let's have the folks meet with their respective counterparts with the rec district, and then they present it at a special city council meeting. Fred and Amy can present it along with Ryan at September 1st or September 2nd. We'll have a framework, and we will have much better understanding of exactly what's going on. So that's what I was talking about. I wasn't advocating that we delay it. We need to have this election on November 3rd, and we need to get this behind us. And but citizens have a right to get absolutely as much detail as possible. So I'm going to speak further, but Councilmember Tony.
No, go ahead and finish up. Then
No, that's okay. Go.
So I think this resolution and the ballot language should be coming after the IGA agreement between the city council and the rec district. Originally, that was the plan. The scheduling didn't work out that way, so I think it'd be the benefit of everyone to have an agreement first, so we have some facts, we have some data that we can present. Right now, we really don't have that data. Cooper called me, Cooper Trahan, the chairman of the rec district board, called me a few minutes before the meeting. Originally, they're going to present some data, but they decided that they probably couldn't present the data because they didn't have the data yet. That they're going to have to do redesigns, and the data's just not there. So when we go to this IGA, intergovernmental agreement meeting, we have to put some fencing around the data that's there. So I think we need the IGA first before the resolution and the ballot. And, you know, I think that's the only way to do it. If you're not doing it, you're getting the cart before the horse. What entity would be going into a 23-year commitment for $56 million and not have the data? And it's simple. I'll answer your question. How do you get that number? $1.7 million a year, approximately. You had 3% inflation per year, 23 years, it's $56 million. That's the simple piece. Ballpark. But I'd suggest that we put this off, the resolution and the ballot, until we have some data through the IGA meeting, which is Wednesday.
Councilmember Maloney.
Thank you. So this IGA concept was talked about at our last meeting, and we all agreed that the IGA did not need to be in place for us to approve the ballot language. The IGA could be worked on after the fact. I also think that this council and this staff is perfectly capable of doing what's right during the intergovernment agreement conversations. I don't think we have to hear from everybody to understand what we're doing, if we're in compliance, if we're doing what's right for the city. I think this can move forward. And I think we discussed all this at our last meeting, so I'm not sure what the turn of events is all of a sudden. Thank you.
Councilmember Dennehy.
I have a little bit different. A few things were said by some citizens, and I would like to see on something that, you know, Mr. Francis said, but I'd like to see if we could hear from Mr. Horn from the Rec Department, if he had ever spoke to the Eagle Pool District or anything like that. I'd just like to know, so for our knowledge on how all this has been going. Thank you.
Yes, so as far as Eagle goes, okay, so I spoke with Turi Nykum of Mountain Rec back in March. He and I had about a 1-hour conversation. That was followed up with an email where we went through his operations, and they tie their operations in with their ice arena. So they didn't really break it out. So he sent me an email breakdown on what they believed was a fair breakout, but it also had, it's a seasonal pool, but they also tied in 3 full-time employees with it. So I don't think that that's a fair representation. Normally on seasonal pools, you have a lot of seasonal employees. You do not really have any full-time staff. So on, let's see, it was on March 25th, he sent me back the information saying that he had met with his finance director and was able to break it out. So I do have a broken out budget from what they have, but I don't know if it would really apply to us because of the full-time employees. But if you take those out, they're looking at a cost recovery somewhere around 50%, somewhere around there. If you take out those full-time employees, we also examined Rifle to benchmark. We've used them as an example as well, seasonal pool. 2 bodies of water, by the way, not 3. We have never proposed 3 bodies of water. We're talking 2 temperatures. Want to make sure we're clear on that. But in speaking with their director, Austin, today, their actual pool, if you take out the full-time employee that they have that tied in with other areas, their revenue is around $300,000, and their operations would be around $490,000 currently for this year. So that leaves a $190,000 cost subsidy. I do want to remind everyone up here that pools, commercial public pools, are subsidized. They are not money makers. They do not pay for themselves. It is a service. It is a subsidy. And the goal across the board normally with most recreation districts and municipalities is try to get to 50%. That is normally the goal. That's what we are looking at in this. But by benchmarking with Eagle, by benchmarking with Rifle, we have at least some general knowledge of where we're at and if we're on the right path. Of course, once you get into schematic design and you start digging into the pro forma based on the pool program, that's going to become more into focus. But for the time being, when you benchmark, it looks like we are on the right path.
Thank you.
Yes.
Councilmember Schmischer.
Thank you, Mayor Lund. I just had a couple of logistical questions so that I can understand what our right and left parameters for this decision are. I believe I heard you say that the deadline for us is to get it to the county, sorry, Administrator Stevens, is for us to get it to the county by September 3rd, that we are legally required to translate it into Spanish, that in the past has taken up to 2 weeks, but presumably, like, there is some flex there. So I guess what I'd like to understand is what is the actual drop dead?
Actually, I'm going to pass this over to our city clerk because she has been really involved with elections in the past.
With the translation, unfortunately, we can't guarantee 2 weeks. The sooner I can get it to them, the better, because we have a drop dead date. And I have to use a professional company. I can't just Google chat it and say, hey, this sounds good. That's required for me to show who we've used, and we use who they have suggested for us. But they, I will say, hey, can I have it back by this date? A lot of times they're very good, and sometimes they're even early. But it just depends on how many other people have turned stuff in prior to us. And so I can't guarantee on that. I always try to give myself 2+ weeks, just because I don't like to be at a last second. And when it comes back, I then have to do some stuff with it to make it into the format that goes to the county. So honestly, I was planning on starting tomorrow morning because I don't like that feeling of dread of not meeting that deadline when you guys want it on the ballot.
Absolutely. With regard to the IGA conversation, which I believe is scheduled for this Thursday evening, will there be a draft that we will receive in advance of that meeting, or is that meeting really to have the initial conversation so that then staff can go back and draft something? Because I think that when we're talking about the timeline of when an IGA might actually be ready, it certainly is incredibly important that we get it precise and correct, because as Councilmember Tony mentioned, I mean, this is a governing document that is for many decades to come.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the goal was to at least get to a framework on Thursday to draft off of. So more like a term sheet.
So we won't receive anything in advance of the meeting on Thursday?
We have not.
The idea is to create the framework at the meeting on Thursday.
Correct. Yeah, we have not. We don't have any direction from council or the rec board on what to include.
So I think my concern is that both our entities have to sign off on this. I couldn't agree with you more, Mayor Lund, that we need to be as, we always need to be as transparent as possible, but on this we need to be as publicly, we need to provide as much information as we possibly can, and as soon as we vote to put it on the ballot, then we have restrictions on what information we as a body can actually provide. So I guess I'm just concerned that, we're kind of between a rock and a hard place right now, because if we have to give our city clerk final ballot language in order to have it translated, what is that, 24 days from now? That essentially gives us 10 days.
Yeah, can I respond to that?
Well, can I just finish the thought?
Yes, you can.
And then we also, if we want to have the IGA done in advance, it not only has to pass our board, it has to pass the rec district board as well. And if there are edits from either board. So I just think that there's a lot that would need to be accomplished in the next 10 days. And I'm all for trying to do it if it's feasible.
So when Ryan and I met on our weekly meeting, we talked about even on September 8th, it's going to be very difficult to put the full document together. We're probably looking at a framework. So that doesn't change what we're going to end up with even on potentially September 8th. My point was it goes out in a packet on probably September 2nd, the Wednesday, and you folks who are on that committee can present that framework at a special city council meeting, which is about what we're going to get on September 8th anyway. As far as the Spanish, I'm just wondering, can we go ahead and get the initial document to them as opposed to what is passed by the council, and don't let it going to Spanish to drive this council's final decision as far as the timing issue. I believe that we absolutely, if people are interested in this passing, I'm I'm just going to talk politics, and I know people are watching and paying attention to that, but I'll bet you got a 40% no right now as far as where it was, this would be at. And so how are you going to get the rest of that? And how you're going to do it is with information and transparency, as you talked about, council member. And I don't think we've got enough details. The reason I use the word blank check, because I think that's what we have right now, and I'm totally against that happening, where all the city does is collect the money and hand it over to the rec district. I think the city has much more obligations to its citizens than that, and I think it's defined with an IGA as far as what our responsibilities are. That is going to last, as again the Councilmember Schmischer mentioned, for several decades. And we've got to do our due diligence, and we've got the time built into the system. That's how it was planned from the start, is we get to August 17th. If we're good, we can go. But if we need another 2 weeks, it's built in there, and I'm not certain why the rush to judgment with putting this on there if we do have the 2 weeks built in and we can have a good IGA meeting. I know that there is a difference of opinion between you and Councilmember Tony as far as what that requires, and that needs to be worked out. And that's fair. That I'm glad that that distinction is there, so you're not on the same page, and so we can work through that, and you guys can do it in your committee. And the same thing is true with the rec district. I doubt all those members are on the same page. That's why they had a meeting, whenever they had their last meeting. I think that thing went to almost 3 hours. Because there was a lot of decisions. When we had presentations for the citizens, there were 4 different pool concepts that would be put together. So even people who were for a pool wanted to have a distinction with that. And these things, it's fair to let that work out, and I just think we could schedule a special meeting on September the 2nd, and we give the IGA people a chance to meet on the 20th, and if they need to have another meeting after that to get things ironed out, we have a framework. The citizens get to see that framework, we put it on the ballot, and it feels to me much more organized and that we are doing it right as opposed to putting it on the ballot now, and we may have tensions between people disagreeing and what it gets there. And I think organized and really doing our due diligence gets a positive vote. I think going forward at this point, and we're not sure what's there, we don't have the information. Cooper calls the finance chair and says we don't have the information to present tonight. Those are questions that we need to work out, and we can do it in 2 weeks. And so let's do that and make it so that it feels very organized and we don't make some of the same, I don't want to use the word mistakes, but obviously we didn't get there last 2 ballot times to actually get there. If you want to get it there this time, we have got the opportunity in the next 2 weeks to do that. Councilmember Schmischer.
Thanks. I just wanted to clarify. So what you're suggesting we would be voting on the 1st or the 2nd is the framework, not the final IGA.
That's correct. It would be the framework, and that's what we're going to be voting on anyway. It would go into the, actually, I don't even know that we need to vote on it. What we need to vote on is putting it on the ballot, and then on the September the 8th, which is what the original plan was, the framework would come before the council, and we could do that. But at least the information will be there that we can put out to the citizens. We can just state it's the draft that is coming before the council on September the 8th.
No, I mean, I think that the confusion that I had was I had heard somebody say that we needed to have voted on the IGA prior to voting to put it on the ballot. But if we're just talking about voting on the IGA framework, I think that is much more doable.
Yeah, I'm talking about that we put the vote for the ballot on September 2nd, so you can put the language on there, but at the same contemporaneous time, the IGA would also be available as far as the framework that would be there. Right now, if we simply pass it tonight, we have nothing with the IGA, and the city administrator is basically saying that we're starting out with a white sheet of paper, and we can do better.
I think some of the difference that I hear is that it isn't a white sheet of paper with regard to the pool concept or how much money is anticipated to be raised. Those things aren't a white sheet of paper because so much work has been done through this citizen championship.
The relationship issue is.
Exactly. But so much work has been done through this citizen championship initiative that I don't think that, I think by saying a blank sheet of paper, some people are interpreting that to mean the pool itself.
I'm talking about the IGA.
Which I don't think is what your intention is at all.
I'm talking about the IGA.
But given that we don't have an existing IGA and we absolutely need to hammer it out. I would suggest that we do need to vote on the framework to make sure that it's not just 2 council members having come to agreement and 2 rec district members have come to agreement. I would think that like the point of having that out there is to show that both of the boards are in, you know, it may not be unanimous, but both of the boards have a majority agreement on what the framework is.
I'm not opposed to or voting at that at the same time as what the ballot proposal would be.
And I love the idea. If it's okay to ask Clerk Foster Owens, is it feasible to go ahead and, I mean, I have a lot of questions about the draft ballot language, but is it feasible if we get it into good enough shape to go ahead and pay for the translation, and then if we don't use it, we don't use it? Or how does that work?
There isn't good enough. Whatever I would get translated, I can't just add stuff in later. We'd have to go back to translation. They don't just do a word here or there. I mean, it would take less time if we had to go back, but there's no way I could do it as of the second.
Thank you. I did not frame that question well. If we agree on what the ballot language should look like this evening, without having agreed that it will actually go on the ballot, is it feasible to go ahead and have that ballot language translated into Spanish now? And then later decide, are we actually putting it on the ballot?
Yes, and we also approved the IGA already this evening, and I don't know how it affects that if we then back out after. I'm not sure. The IGA was
the IGA with the county.
With
Sorry,
the county, yes.
not the IGA with the rec district.
No, let me rephrase. The IGA with the county for the election. So if we would withdraw at that late of a time, I'm not sure how that affects that. I did not read that portion closely.
I think that would be really helpful to know whenever we do have that opportunity. Thanks.
Are you done?
City Administrator Stevens wanted to comment on the idea.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so just you're talking about working through the language tonight, sending it to translation tomorrow. The only caveat there is that if that language changes on the 2nd or whenever that special meeting is, you may miss the election. Yeah.
I think, and I mean, this is your idea, Mayor Lunge, so feel free to cut me off, but I think the idea is that nothing in the ballot language should change as a result of the IGA. The IGA framework is simply how our 2 entities will be working together in collaboration to manage the funds that are coming in and that are then being used to finance and subsidize the O&M. So I don't envision changes would need to be made as a result of the IGA, but certainly open to other thoughts on that.
Yeah, one of the issues that the attorney can correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding with Tabor is that it requires a cap for a sales tax, for instance, which is going to go all over the place, so that there is from my understanding, a cap that is put in so that the rec district doesn't, we had an enormous year and all of a sudden they get $500,000 extra that isn't there. But we can put that in there, right?
It is not required. The question is it required? The answer is no. What was required was the estimate as to on the first full fiscal year of the imposition of the tax. So that task under Tabor has already been completed.
What I would love the IGA folks to do is to say, here's the budget for that, and it's 1.68 million or whatever that number is. But if it's 2.5, the rec district doesn't get this windfall for doing everything else the rec district might want to do. And that is possible that would be the case. It would be far more than excessive. You guys can discuss that, but I think those are important questions, not for this council, but for citizens as far as working their way through that. Yes.
I think I still have the floor. I just wanted to clarify, I don't think that the rec district would be able to legally spend these funds on anything other than what is specifically outlined in the ballot language, regardless of what the IGA says legally.
So what happens to the money? And that's what I'm
I think
asking
that's one of the questions that we absolutely need to
deal with in the IGA.
But nothing can happen to the money other than what has been approved by the voters. So like
Understand.
Correct.
Okay, I accept that, but I think it's an issue that the IGA folks on both sides need to talk about. If it's low, what happens then? If it's high, what happens then? And so we have an understanding of where that goes. Councilmember Tony.
Yeah, I think I want to address the ballot issue language a little bit. We'd be here a long time tonight.
That's why we need to have the IGA people do it.
Right. So just for one specific comment there, it's only to be used as per the ballot language. The ballot language says to be used for a pool, community recreation pool, and related pool capital. Now, that could be anything tied into that pool. A new building for the pool, an enclosed structure for the pool. That is related capital. So that's what we have to talk about in the IGA meeting. We go with this ballot language, I think the transparency of this council will be in question. The first thing that comes up, without raising taxes, shall the existing 0.3% temporary sales and use tax construction of a community recreation pool. Let me read what the pool model is going to be. The accepted pool model is not a pool. The proposed design is a seasonal 5-month complex complete with multiple pools, 2 pools, leisure pool, and a zero-depth children's play area, interactive play structure, current channel with water features, slides with runouts, 6-lane lap pool, diving board, aqua zip and feature, climbing wall, basketball, and volleyball. And the ballot language should clearly state what represents in the design of the pool that we're talking about. A pool is misleading, okay? And I can go through this, and it'll take a long time. So I think, yeah, and you too, right. So I think this IGA first is required. It's financially responsible for us to go through that. If we don't do it, I think we're irresponsible as a city council to hand over $56 million in income. What if they don't meet the $1.5 million it's going to take for the first 2 years with the construction and the operation? And that's at $250,000, by the way. I just heard $400,000 now. The last meeting it was $250,000. What if they don't meet that and we're not able to cover that cost with the income, say the economy tanks? Where's that money coming from? There's a lot of questions to be answered that's not in this ballot language.
And you guys are being the case study right now of why I believe that needs to happen within the IGA as opposed to this council meeting, is we actually deal with those details. You all get on the same page and you come out with, this is what the rec district agreed to, this is what the city agreed to. All 6 members of that group present something to us on September the 2nd, and we can proceed with that. I need to go to, are you going to continue?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
So I think everybody's in agreement. If this doesn't go through, and it looks like we're, lack of another word, not transparent, and the voters see that, it gets voted down, it'll be decades before we get another shot at a city municipal pool, I think. So what if a competitive private pool comes into play and they take the revenue that we were going to have for the pool? You know, there's a lot of things to be considered in this that you got to play through in the scenarios that's not been considered, and we need to consider those before we write this ballot.
Councilmember Maloney.
I forgot what I was going to say, but now I have something new. So, Fred, are you saying that now the ballot language needs to be redone? So there is no way this is getting on a ballot this year. It's not fitting the time frame. Sorry. We talked about this at the last meeting. Like I said, IGA did not have to be in place prior to the ballot language. We just got the ballot language today. Doesn't sound like you want to pass it. I don't know how everyone else feels, but I don't disagree with you about, how you can interpret it. But I think some of the language goes back to the old ballot language, so it just transferred over a little bit as far as capital improvements. But if we're going to have to meet again to review the ballot language, then I just don't see this happening this year, and that's just my thoughts. So
This could be a longer meeting, or someone needs to switch gears and we need to figure something else out.
Okay. I've got Councilmember Schmischer on up before, so Councilmember McCullough.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So it sounds like it's a legal requirement that we have this translated into Spanish. We cannot bypass translating it. So the September 2nd meeting will not work for that timeline. Why don't we meet next week? Does that give us enough time to get it to the translation service? Can we meet next week instead of
We
the
have
first-
we have weekends too.
Sure, I'm willing.
Okay. Cindy doesn't. Yeah.
I was going to follow that same line, which is you guys are meeting on Thursday. Can we meet on Friday? That's probably too quick, but I would think as much effort as this put in, I'm encouraging the committee members to keep this as a priority, and that includes our folks who are probably watching from the rec district. This is high priority, and maybe you guys can meet on the weekend because you don't need Cindy there. And maybe next week, as Sarah was talking about, we can get there and get all of it done at the same time. So we could give you guys a deadline for a framework. I don't know about Ryan. He's paid staff as opposed to not. And same thing with Kyle sitting out there. But if we can meet and keep this as a priority and you come up with a framework by mid next week, we might be able to get there.
What about the ballot language? When are we going to discuss that?
At the same time, that's what I'm talking about. Framework and ballot language, to me, are coupled together. I think Councilmember Schmischer is correct that we need to take that up at the same time.
I see this as wanting to put the IGA ahead of the approving whether this goes on the ballot or not, is like not trusting that we can put a proper IGA together, that we don't know what we're doing for some reason. I'm just getting that feeling up here. So I kind of take offense to it a little bit, but whatever you guys decide is fine. We'll figure it out. But we have to do it within the next few days.
Councilmember Schmischer.
I guess to that point, Councilmember Maloney, maybe just explaining like why I'm okay with it. I think that this is an issue that many members of our community are very exercised about and have a lot of strong feelings about. I also think that it's an issue that there's been a lot of misinformation around for years, and there continues to be both misinformation and also different opinions about the same information. So I completely agree with Mayor Lund that the more transparent we can be in advance of putting it on the ballot, the better. Like the more information that we can get out there that is, has been agreed upon by City Council and the Rec District, as kind of all entities or both entities are on the same page and are, singing from the same sheet of music, the better, just so that there isn't that misinformation and there isn't that different perception of the same information. So I don't necessarily view it as not trusting this body or not trusting other bodies. I view it as wanting to ensure that we have something in black and white that has been signed off on by both boards so that the voters know, as much as they can, what it is that they're voting for. I similarly have a lot of questions about the ballot language as it currently stands. I think that there's a lot in here. I think it's way too long. I think there's a lot in here that doesn't need to be in here. And I think that there are also some things in here that there are also things that are missing that should be in here. So I'm concerned as well, and happy to stay here and kind of have those conversations, but also happy to sequence it differently if folks think it would be better to have the IGA conversations before the ballot conversations. I think my concern is just I don't want us to have a meeting next week where we have questions about the ballot language that's already been proposed and we haven't iterated with the attorneys at all, and then we end up having a 3 or 4 hour meeting with forgive me, Attorney Hoffman, but with a rotating cast of attorneys who may, I'm not sure if it makes sense to have this conversation with you if a different attorney is then going to be there at the next meeting.
Well, and remember, we also have to get any additional language approved by bond counsel for the district. So we have been collaborating with them as well and working together on this. I mean, Tabor restricts you significantly on what the ballot language can be. So frankly, there's not a lot of opportunity for movement on the language required by Tabor. How you want to describe the pool, have at it. That's policy. But in terms of what the question needs to capture under Tabor, there's less flexibility.
So I guess my questions really start at the second half. Shall the sales and use tax only be collected until December 31st, 2050? That was decided by the first ballot question that went out in 2024. I don't know why we would need to restate that.
If you'd like to take it out, take it out. It reaffirms there's a sunset provision, which the original voters voted on. Again, that was.
Okay. I mean, I think that there are arguments to be made both ways. Some citizens may think that we're changing the sunset by restating it. As Councilmember Worthington just said, others would be comforted by the reassurance that there is a sunset.
I'm wondering if we couldn't delegate that to the IGA committee, and you guys work with it with them, and you meet on Thursday and deal with that, Amy, and work through it at that point, because I think we're not going to come to a conclusion, and if you have the final language that you guys could come up with, and we meet on Monday per Sarah's thought process, a week from today, and we get there.
I don't know, love that idea. I don't know if we are having an attorney present at the meeting on Thursday.
I will be there remotely.
Okay, wonderful. Then I think that sounds great.
Okay. I'm open to a motion, so this is on the agenda. If somebody wants to make a motion that it goes, but if we have consensus that we're going to kick this to the folks that are in the IGA group, and they're going to meet on Thursday, and they're going to give this a priority so that come Monday of next week, they can come back with not only their thoughts on the ballot language, but a framework for the IGA. Councilmember McCullough, you have a motion.
I do. I move that we table resolution number 12, series of 2026, to a special meeting on Monday, August 24th, 2026, at 6 p.m., if that works for folks.
Okay. Do we need to include anything? Well, we're just tabling the motion. I think that works, but we also have an understanding that that's going to be presented for the IGA framework as well. Is that just an understanding? We don't need it as part of the motion. We're good? I'm looking for the attorney and saying we're good.
We are good. I think we understand that there will be whether it be a framework or a term sheet or something along those lines. We'll know better after Thursday what the agenda would look like based on the discussion on Thursday, I suspect.
Is there support to the motion? I'm going to go to discussion. Councilmember Tony.
I'll second the motion.
Okay. Councilmember Schmischer, a discussion on this motion?
Yes.
Okay.
Would it be helpful to invite the rec board to that meeting so that we are also hearing from them? I don't know if even a majority of them would be available to attend, but so that we're also hearing from their board, because they would also have to vote on the IGA, and they will only have 2 members participating as part of the IGA negotiation. So I would rather know if the entire rec board would actually support it.
How about you guys figure that out on your Thursday meeting, and if there's still time to invite them, you can do that, as opposed to us making that invitation. Because I think we're putting a lot of faith in you two, as well as the city administrator, to come up back with something. If you come back with something that's nobody can agree on, that's going to be a problem. And I suspect they're putting the same on Cooper, Kyle, and Sean to come up with something that works as well. So.
Sure. And then my second point of discussion is Monday feasible from your perspective? I think you and Kyle will likely get a lot of direction on Thursday night. I just want to make sure that we're not setting ourselves up for failure if it needs to be on Tuesday or something like that.
I don't know that I can answer that question. If the ballot language changes a lot and we have to go back to bond council, I don't know. I mean, there's scheduling. I don't know if we're going to get a hold of them to have that discussion.
All considerations that you folks can make in your meeting.
I'm just wondering if we should possibly look at Tuesday night to give bond, if they have to go to bond council with revised ballot language, I'm wondering if it makes sense to give another 24 hours to.
Oh, you're talking about Tuesday of next week as far as the
Mhm.
council meeting? Okay,
Yeah.
I misunderstood what you were saying.
I just don't, I don't
Do you-
know.
Is that 24 hours going to be helpful if we went Tuesday as opposed to Monday?
Kyle, do you have thoughts on that? Sorry to call you up here, but it's the rec district's bond council.
No, I understand. I can reach out to Tom tomorrow and see what his thoughts are and what his availability is on either Monday or Tuesday and see what that looks like and get back to you. I'll also have to check with our legal counsel as well as our board and put out both and see what options there are. But I will get on this immediately.
Thank you.
Yep.
Why don't we go ahead and make it Tuesday? Do you have any problem with that, Sarah?
I don't. I'm happy to modify my motion.
You'll have someone else from our firm because neither Catherine and I are available.
On Tuesday?
Correct.
Okay, that's a special council meeting, so you're available on Monday?
Catherine is.
Okay. I'm wanting to give as much time as you need, but keep it short. So if we can do it Monday and you guys are good with that, we can go. If not, we'll have to have another attorney besides those two.
I would suggest going with Monday.
Okay,
And
there we
then
go.
if for some reason we can't get bond counsel, we can reach out to council and schedule for another day.
Sounds good. So the motion is as stands, as Sarah had put it out, and Councilmember Tony put a second to that. Is there any further discussion on this motion? Let's go ahead and vote.
Unanimously passed.
Okay, and I just want to make a closing comment to citizens who are here in the audience as well as watching. This, in my mind, works for whether you're for it or you're against it. Information is going to be available to you, and so you get to vote yes or no based on actual information as opposed to not. And I look forward to those folks who are working on that IGA, intergovernmental agreement, to come up with a good plan. The next item on the agenda is another ordinance. This is introduction and first reading by title only of Ordinance 12, Series 2026, entitled an ordinance appointing Larry Dean Allen as municipal judge and approving the contract for services. City Administrator.
Yes, sir. This, as you stated, is the contract for the judge. It does have an annual salary of $81,952 as amended through annual cost of living adjustments that other city staff receive. And it is for a 2-year period, retroactive back to July 1st.
Okay. Discussion, Councilmember Schmischer.
What, to the point that was raised earlier this evening, what is the process for folks to raise concerns or complaints about the municipal judge?
Is that a judicial commission or is that through this council?
It is through the council. He is a council appointee.
Okay.
So practically, how does that work?
That is entirely up to his boss, which is you.
So do we have a process in play for receiving any complaints about any person that is specific to us? The administrator,
not that I am aware
you,
of.
And also the judge.
For the administrator, there is a process. If there is an employee that makes a complaint against the administrator, that's the only process I am aware of. I'm not aware of a citizen complaint process against the administrator, or the judge for that matter.
Would they, once we seat the, apologies.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Once we seat the ethics committee, would those three contracted folks, also the administrator, the judge, and the attorneys, be subject to that process?
I don't know off the top of my head, but if it was an ethic, it would have to fall under something that was within the jurisdiction of an ethics complaint.
Yeah, I would be not in favor of that being the first avenue. As far as ethics, I think other things could arise way beyond their specific subject matter expertise. So I agree that something should be put into play, though. So he should have a forum other than coming up before this council and being able to start a process that it works.
And the only caution I would provide is it shouldn't be about cases that are pending at that time.
Agreed with that. Does other cities that you represent have a process for similar situations?
They do not for the judge.
Okay. I think we should kick this into the administrator's lap and have him put something together that can be recommended, how we might handle a process like that. Are people in agreement with that? No.
Okay.
We're going to vote on that.
I got you.
Amy raised that issue, and I want to make sure it's dealt with. Anybody have any objection to that?
No objection, Mr. Mayor. I was just thinking that, yeah, something that we could all see, maybe in writing, if someone does have a complaint or is making allegations about that person's performance, that we could all review it, in writing. So
Yeah, it would be nice to be able to tell him tonight, we've got a process in play, and here's what you do, and we could do that, as opposed to frustration of walking out and what are they going to do? It's just tabled there, so. Okay, any discussion on this? Did we get a motion? Okay, let's get a motion on this one. Councilmember Tony.
I'd like to make a motion to pass the Ordinance 12, Series 2026, entitled an ordinance appointing Larry Dean Allen as municipal judge and approving the contract for services, which includes to be retroactive to July 1st, 2026.
Councilmember Dennehy.
I second that.
Any discussion on this motion? All those in favor, let's go ahead and vote.
Unanimously passed.
Okay, thank you for your patience, those in the audience and council members, and I think we had a good meeting, and we are adjourned.
Mayor Lund, can I ask a quick question real quick?
Certainly.
I apologize. Are you still planning a meeting on September 2nd? Because you mentioned that, you put it in, but I'm not sure if that was.
No, I think the
that
only
would be
date
pulled.
that is on is next Monday night.
Thank you.
Mhm.